So you're looking for a 360 camera for virtual tours, but you don't want to spend any more than $300. Well, I think I found the perfect solution, and that is the Theta SC2 and the Theta SC2 for business, which is the one I have here. While it doesn't have the image quality of its granddaddy, the Theta Z1, for less than 1/3 of the price, it's definitely more than 1/3 as good and puts itself forward as a great second best option for those on a budget. The SC2 is basically a cheaper version of the Theta V. The specs are more or less identical, as you can see here, and while the Theta V is still a great second best option, the price is too high right now for what it offers. Enter the Theta SC2, coming in at just $299. This camera has the potential to be the best budget 360 photo camera in late 2020, early 2021. However, with a resolution of only 14 megapixels, is this a camera you could actually use professionally and make money with? Now, there have been a lot of 360 cameras come out over the past 5 years with an endless amount of weird names, weird shapes, and weird features. But something that has been consistent has been Ricoh releasing a camera called the Theta. Here's the very first 360 camera I ever owned. It's called the Theta M15. Then came the Theta S and Theta SC, then the Theta V, Theta Z1, and now the Theta SC2 and SC2 for business. And here they are all together, in case you were wondering. And something they've always had in common are really nice images straight out of the camera, with accurate colors, excellent dynamic range, and a fast workflow. And while of course they don't compare to a DSLR and a pano head, I have found that Ricoh's 360 cameras look sharper than the numbers on paper might suggest. And compared with other 360 cameras with the exact same resolution, they almost always look sharper. I took some samples here in my office where the sun was shining through the windows really brightly to test out what the Theta SC2 could do. After switching it into HDR rendering mode, here's the photo I got from it. And the first thing to notice about this shot is the dynamic range is really good. You can see outside is exposed really nicely. You've got strong shadows in here, but they don't look too contrasty. I would almost say this is the perfect level of contrast straight out of the camera. In terms of sharpness, I'd say it's about average. When you zoom in really far, it just doesn't look good, does it? But the average zoom level for a virtual tour is more around here or so. So when I look around at this level of zoom, it's not noticeably soft and it's not noticeably sharp either. It's kind of in the middle, but I would say this is acceptable in terms of sharpness. Some imperfections I'm seeing straight away are the chromatic aberration there in the window. Yes, you can get rid of that in editing, but it will show up in most shots where you've got the sun beaming in there quite strongly. So that's something to keep in mind. If you don't like that, it's gonna take that extra step of editing it out. Another flaw of the SC2 is on the floor, pun intended. And yeah, as you can see, it hasn't done a great job of stitching, and I have noticed this to be a consistent theme whenever you have straight lines near the base of the camera, as I do here with the shadow of the window frame. It's probably not going to do a good job down there, so that's going to take time to edit out. This was the worst shot I found of all my tests. It did do better in other situations, but I would definitely consider this to be a genuine flaw of the Theta SC2. Likewise, when shooting handheld, it still produces stitching issues, and all I can say here is take my strong hand. Otherwise, I think overall this shot is passable, and you could definitely use this for a low budget virtual tour. Oh, and by the way, this is with no editing whatsoever. I haven't touched this image, which all flaws considered is actually pretty good and better than most other cameras would produce straight out of the camera. Now here I put it side by side with one of its competitors, the Insta360 One R, a more expensive camera with more photo settings, so surely the One R should be better, right? Well, no, actually without even zooming in, you can see straight away the Theta SC2 is performing much better than the One R. Firstly, there's better overall contrast out of the SC2, whereas it's a bit washed out here, and this is even after color correction with my One R shot. I still wasn't able to get as good contrast as the Theta SC2 had naturally out of the camera. Also, there's a pretty big difference between the two sunspots in each image. The SC2 is handling it much better. With the One R, it's blowing it out quite considerably. Now let's zoom in on the horizon, and we're getting better clarity not only on the city skyline with the SC2, but also this window frame is considerably sharper than the One R. Going inside, and this time it's a little closer, but I'm still preferring the contrast of the SC2 versus the slightly washed out look of the One R. One last comparison and my softbox settles it. The Theta SC2 is definitely performing better indoors than the One R as well as outdoors. Now I even did a manual raw HDR shot with the One R where I shot 3 different exposures and combined them all together in Photoshop to try and beat the Theta SC2, but still, even when using this more advanced method, I'm noticing the Theta SC2 is clearer with better colors and contrast. And by the way, you know what the difference is in workflows between these two? With the Theta SC2, it took me 1 second to take the photo and 1 second to airdrop it to my computer. With the One R, it took me about 30 seconds to take this photo and 5 to 10 minutes of editing to get it to this point. So the Theta SC2 also wins for workflow. Now for the comparison you've been waiting for, the SC2 versus the Theta Z1. And I think you know who wins here. It's the Theta Z1. With this shot on the right, I used the dual fisheye plugin with 9 shots of DNG bracketed RAW, edited them together to produce this fantastic 360 photo. It's definitely a level above the SC2 in every way. However, I wouldn't say it's 3 times as good. It's not even twice as good. It's more like 1.5 to 2 times as good. As you can see, we've got less noise and better clarity with the Z1. But the difference isn't exactly night and day. The Theta SC2 definitely holds its own in this comparison. Here's the softbox again, and yeah, it looks better on the Theta Z1, but still, to serve my point that the Theta SC2 is a cheaper version of the Z1 seems to be accurate with this particular setup. Oh, and also the Z1 has infinitely better shadow recovery than the SC2. It can do this, so that's where some of that extra money towards the Z1 goes. It's in shooting this fantastic RAW that allows you a lot more flexibility later on in editing. With the SC2, you gotta get it right while you're shooting, or you're going to end up with an image that looks like this, and that ain't good. Okay, so the SC2 beats the One R for photos, and that was without any manual exposure techniques applied. While you might consider manually bracketing the shots yourself, from the experiments I did, I wasn't able to get any better than the inbuilt HDR, since JPEGs don't have much flexibility when it comes to editing, and when I combined them, it produced more issues than it was actually helpful. And while that's definitely a limitation, it's actually okay, since the inbuilt HDR mode still produces better dynamic range photos than other cameras without having to use these techniques, and it should be able to handle most lighting situations. You can set the exposure manually with the Theta SC2 to get a range of lighting effects, like this silhouette shot where I set a really fast shutter speed and jumped above the camera. So I'd also consider it to be a good 360 camera for social media type content, since between the manual settings and the inbuilt HDR feature, you should be able to get any kind of cool shot you want. Yes, the sharpness is still lacking with this camera, so it's better used for zoomed out perspectives or reframe shots like this silly tiny planet photo. Would I use this camera professionally for paid virtual tour gigs? Yeah, I would, but only for small, low-budget projects. Not all clients can afford DSLR quality, nor do they always need it. So I see the Theta SC2 as the perfect entry-level camera that is good enough for shoots for small businesses. Then I'd see the Z1 as a camera you could use for slightly bigger clients and bigger shoots with more budgets for small to medium-sized businesses, where you might be shooting in RAW and bracketing using the dual fisheye plugin, which would definitely produce an upgrade in image quality for those clients. Then obviously, I don't need to say it, but I'm going to anyway, for big clients and big budgets, use a DSLR. To quickly address the differences between the SC2 and the SC2 for business, there aren't too many. It's mostly small stuff. Both have the inbuilt LED screen. With the business version, it also has a room mode, which basically puts the camera straight into inbuilt HDR mode without the need to change modes in the app. It also has time shift mode, where you can take 2 shots, one after the other, move to a different part of the room, and it automatically removes you. There are some other small differences, but nothing that really affects virtual tour shooting too much. So I probably recommend the business model over the regular Theta SC2, although to be honest, either camera can produce basically the same results anyway. It's just really small things like the SC2 comes in 4 pretty colors, whereas the business model only comes in gray. So is this the best budget 360 camera right now for virtual tours? Well, at least at the time of making this video. I say yes, especially if you want a quick workflow with very little editing. It's no Z1 and it's not a high-end camera, but it's a great choice if you're a complete beginner to 360 photography and want a reliable camera that gets the exposure right with relative ease. It's the perfect mix of acceptable image quality and price for the low end of the 360 market. Now, if you want to learn how to get the best image quality possible from a point-and-shoot 360 camera like this one, as well as how to put together professional virtual tours that you can actually earn money from. And I'm talking about earning back the entire cost of the camera on your very first shoot. You can find out exactly how to do that inside my video course, Virtual Tour Pro. It covers everything you need to know, including the best shooting techniques, how to edit using a variety of free and paid softwares, all the way through to starting and scaling a virtual tour business from scratch. The course is 11 hours long, and I've been adding videos to it weekly that include all of the best and latest information for every step of the virtual tour journey. You can join our 900 plus Virtual Tour Pro members by enrolling at virtualtourpro.com or by following the link in the description. And that's it for my review of the Theta SC2. What do you think about this camera? Is it a good option? Is it something you're considering for using professionally? Do you see it as a good social media camera, or are you going to go with something else? Let me know down there. Of course, you know I've got reviews of all the other 360 cameras out there on my channel, so be sure to go through my videos if you want to find out more about the competitors of the SC2. But I do genuinely think this is going to be a camera that will be around for the next 1 to 2 years and be one of the best budget options you can get. And that's it, Mr. Ben out.